Gaming Compute, what's up? So, we are back here gonna talk about some additional methods of making additional income. So, we've been talking about eBay a bit. I'm not knocking eBay, I'm not knocking e commerce, online sales, but I want to talk a little bit more about digital marketing, a little bit more about sales as it pertains to using Facebook ads. So pretty much, I would say one of the best models based on Rich UX. He has this agency. You can start your own agency. He previously had a very affordable subscription option. I think it was like a one-time payment to get information about his kind of program to create your own agency for freelancing. So that's you either providing a service or a like providing a product. I would say product wise you're probably going to go a different e-commerce route, but usually providing a service. What I've learned, I guess the best tip I've learned from doing work with startups would be to make something scalable, something that you can do that has less limits to it. So things like, if you're going to make a website for somebody, that doesn't have to take long, but it can take long. And if you're the only one doing it, you have to realize how long it takes to find someone who needs a website, somebody who maybe wants a free trial or a free sample landing page, and then someone who wants you maybe more involved in creating the website, what needs to be involved in that website for the company, and if you're managing the social media and all these other different moving parts. When you think of a model like that, how long can you really do that before eventually you as one person can no longer both outreach to find new clients and also put in work for clients and be creating more websites. Now, if it's just the website creation and you're not managing them and it's kind of like a one-off, that might not be a good subscription model because most people don't need more than maybe one website a month, or if they do, I mean, eventually it's gonna dry up. I would say eventually these people who want websites, your customers aren't gonna be having a monthly subscription for you to create websites for them once a month, like a brand new website. That is not very typical. So if you do have a subscription, it would likely be management based, managing the websites, updating the websites. But eventually, like, say if you have 20 customers, can you realistically get more than that? Because by the time you get to a certain amount of customers that you're maxing out at, you're not really going to have a lot of time to outreach. You're going to hit a limit. Now, it's okay if you're able to kind of say if you need 20 clients to survive every month and be profitable, and those are solid people that stay past the 1 month and you're not constantly having to outreach. I guess the issue would be is if you have a lot of turnover and people canceling because either they can't afford it or they don't really need the services, so they're cutting back in their budget or whatever the reason may be. You're still going to have enough time to make sure that you have 20 people that you're providing services for every month. And so things like that, you can think about it like how much time realistically can you really spend doing something as one person? You know, if you can scale that, something more scalable might be better. So if you don't, but if you don't have a subscription, that means that you're just doing one-offs, making sales for one-offs every time, and you know, you might have an aspect where you might get some funds from it, like if they can refer people to you, and they get some type of a free item or service, like maybe you could provide like 3 pieces of SEO copy for their email marketing campaigns for every person that they refer to you that signs up, and once you get payment confirmed, then they get something free from you, or something at a very discounted price, maybe $1 or something like that, for something that you already charge a lot of money for. Say if those SEO emails or emails that you're sending out to provide SEO services to the company on their website, maybe they do blog posts and you're basically creating blog posts or something like that. You would be able to basically create something for them. But again, it kind of depends how you're thinking about it. That's not really too small, I wouldn't say, because there would be income from that. So if you compare that to something like e-commerce, where you're dependent on having a product to sell, or drop shipping or drop servicing, that model works pretty well if you're able to get one-off customers very often, but that's going to be very outreach heavy. The other subscription model is going to be very heavy on your end as far as like doing the work or outsourcing the work. If you're outsourcing the work, you could probably scale more, but then you have to deal with probably the quality. If you're hiring people out, that's money out of your pocket, and if you are hiring them at a discounted rate, the work that you get back might be slower, might be sloppier, potentially, and then you're still gonna have to go through and do edits, and maybe send things back and have people redo some of the work that they did, like not like in a mean way, but it kind of just depends, because a lot of times if you're getting cheaper labor, it's either interns or students who might not have as much experience, or it might be people who are overseas who don't necessarily require such a high pay rate to make a living, so they can take less money for more work, but then you might have time zone issues, you might have maybe different holiday and cultural types of conflicts. I'm thinking like if you're hiring out of the Philippines, for example, that's a big place where people hire, or if you're using a different agency to connect you with workers, or if you're using Upwork to find workers, that process takes a while, and depending on the workers that are actually working for you, they may or may not be as productive as you need, or they might quit frequently, and so you kind of have to figure out those moving pieces as well. So that would probably be like what an initial step would look like, is pretty much, I mean, there are definitely steps way before this, but if you just wanted like a quick and dirty kind of example, that would be kind of one example, is looking at pretty much how to figure out like what kind of model you want to use. That's an early step. You can kind of probably play with both, but you could use the landing page model and basically run ads to a landing page. And you could just throw it out there and not even like target anybody, and see if the ads land where they're just supposed to. You could do this free or organic. Like organic would be probably the most free, or you could pay. I mean, definitely there are steps before this. You want to know what it is that you're providing, whether it's a service or a maybe just like one product, like a digital product, or if you are doing the work, you or yourself doing the work for individual subscribed customers, or if you're basically, using e-commerce strategies and selling physical products that somebody's gonna buy. I mean, that kind of works with digital products too, with e-commerce. But before all of that, definitely you'd have other steps that you would have taken with the research. You'd have a target avatar, a target, a buyer persona. Pretty much, who are you expecting will want what it is that you're trying to sell, knowing what it is that you're looking for to qualify these people. Because in that way, you're narrowing in more on people who are going to be more likely to stick around or more likely to actually respond to whatever advertising you're sending out there. I don't knock cold calling. Cold calling usually gets the most direct. It's kind of more on your own time. It can be on someone else's time, but it is often very much so on your own time. So when you're cold calling, you can contact a person and do the cold calling to a list of people and just call them, take the notes on those calls, and see if it's something along the lines of they did respond, they didn't respond, they responded but it's the wrong person. This person can't even make the decisions. Maybe it's like a cashier answering the phone. They can't tell you if the CEO of the company is going to try and like purchase your services. Like, they have no power in that. Or it might be a small business of a company, like a family-owned mom and pop little restaurant, where maybe the cashier is the daughter or son of the owner, and maybe they speak English and the parent doesn't speak English too well, and so they take the calls and they are the ones who would be responsible for making those decisions. So you would need to know who you're contacting, and you want to know the details of what it is that these companies need to be making so that they can even afford what it is that you're providing. Because one mistake is, if some small businesses, like maybe like small vendors, sometimes can't really afford much. Maybe you're charging $75 a month or $100 a month. If they're not going to see over $100 profit for what they're paying you for, that might be kind of a bad move on their end, because they feel like, well, why am I paying for this if I'm not getting what I need in return? Nobody wants to see their money going out without money coming in. Nobody really wants to break even either. And with the economy as it is a lot harder to get people who can afford, and also it's harder if you're providing a service to be able to get people to pay what it is that you need to live. So you could either have more customers at a lower price point of them paying less, but you need more customers to keep your lights on, or you need less customers because they're paying a lot. Maybe if you need to make $3,000 a month and you have 3 customers to pay $1,000 a month each, you'll be good. But you know, maybe you need you know, I don't know, maybe you need $1,000 a month, but you're charging people $10 a month. I mean, you'd have to have a whole lot more. Um, you really have to have a whole lot more customers. You need like 100 customers every month to be able to make that $1,000 at $10 a pop. So, you know, trying to figure that out, you know, the math of it all, that can come later if you're pretty new to doing things. But those are things to keep in mind. And we're going to zone in on some other topics as well. I'm just thinking this is like a short, pretty quick and dirty overview of kind of initial steps of places to start for people who are trying to add additional streams of income. You know, because I know these days, especially I live in LA right now, like it's not easy for people to just have one job. A lot of times people need to be making like $40 an hour just to kind of make, you know, a basic living, you know, of being able to pay for healthcare, and, you know, hopefully they wouldn't have a $600 a month car payment or really expensive car insurance or a lot of health care bills or a lot of bills for school or anything like that. Like out here, if you make $20 an hour, you're barely getting an apartment, and you can't really have a whole lot of other expenses if you're trying to save. And most jobs aren't paying $40 an hour, so a lot of times people need more income, but also, you know, you want to optimize your time and your energy and your efforts, and people want remote work because of time management. It can help. So I'm going to be talking more about that. I'll be kind of running up projects, talking about them, and then you guys will see kind of how it's going.